Here's an idea. Your social media posts might be worth something. Like sunshine in the spring and goatees in Boston, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge has felt like an inextricable part of the internet over the last month. For anyone who's been hiking out in the wilderness, the long and short of it is as follows. You make and post a video pouring a bucket of ice over your head, challenge your friends to do the same, and along the way, you and your pals donate $100 or more to the ALS Association. Also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, is a degenerative nerve disease with no cure and for which research has been historically underfunded. And so, by one measure at least, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge has been a triumphant success. According to Time, at this point last year, the ALS Association had raised $2.6 million. This year, $88.5 million. And for everyone who's wondering, yes, I did do the thing at the end of last week's episode, so if you missed it, we'll put an annotation to it right here. Now, along with raising money, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, I think, also raises some questions which I want to ask. Questions about making things in support of causes, and also about the value and purpose of those things. So the mechanics of the Ice Bucket Challenge are actually a little muddled. According to Know Your Meme, the Ice Bucket Challenge became ALS specific on July 25th when Pat Quinn of the ALS charity Quinn for the Win posted about it on his Facebook page. He wrote, "You take the challenge, then nominate others to do the same within 24 hours. If they fail the challenge, they must donate $100 to quinforthewin.com. And since it's grown, there have been 3 notable permutations of the elements ice, donation, and challenge. Lots of I'm donating, and then ice, and then I challenge.
Merchant, you just got challenged.
Relatively few I'm donating with no ice, like Charlie Sheen and Orlando Jones, but mostly ice and then challenge, with no talk about donation, even if there is talk about ALS. Maybe the donation is implied. Maybe not. For lots of people, this is slacktivism at its finest. People helping only superficially with a cause instead of effecting real change. And on the surface, sure, I can see it. Narcissistic altruism through displays of support vis-a-vis performative dousing. Except that dousing is correlated with an over 35 times increase in donations. So the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge might be bad activism in the way sandwiches are bad burritos. Really, they're just 2 different things. A funny challenge video with a humanitarian message is sort of like a spoonful of sugar to help the giving money to charity medicine go down. It also helps if the sugar is Chris Pratt.
I wasn't gonna do the ice.
The celebrity element surely helps raise both money and awareness, 2 things between which there is an important relationship. Partially, the premise of the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and charity in general, is that a little yields sign is being drawn between raising awareness and support. Support, however, is not always one single thing. In a paper for the Journal of Consumer Research, Kirk Christopherson, Catherine White, and John Pelosa describe a difference between what they term token and meaningful support. Token support is joining a Facebook group or wearing a button. Meaningful support is, quote, consumer contributions that require significant cost, effort, or behavior change. Making an Ice Bucket Challenge video is sorta in the middle, I guess? And interestingly, Christopherson et al. Found in their study that publicly shared token support does not, in fact, lead to increases in meaningful support down the road. But still, there is an assumption, it seems, that icing yourself and challenging your friends will lead to acts of potential meaningful support through an increase in awareness. So whether or not they actually do, does this mean people making and posting ALS Ice Bucket Challenge videos view their posts as having potential indirect monetary value, regardless of if they mention donations explicitly? And if so, does it mean they should think of every social media post as possessing potential indirect monetary value? Each ALS IBC post raises awareness and potentially money for 2 things: the ALS Association and the platform on which it is posted. This is a foundational idea of social media. The more people and the more stuff those people create on a platform, the more impactful and influential those people and platform become. So there's more potential value just sort of floating around. This is a pretty common arrangement that we have. Creating and delivering messages have a cost, but those messages also generate a value for the people and places creating and delivering them. That value isn't necessarily monetary, but for better or worse, that's generally how we think of it. Like, during Twitter's IPO, someone made a website that tells you how much your Twitter account is worth in dollars. Like, how much of Twitter's total market value you have generated. My personal account is allegedly worth $9,873.19, for instance. I assume the check is in the mail. The argument being that users generate all of the awareness and most of the quote-unquote content for Twitter, so hey, maybe they should get a piece of the action. Similar questions were asked about Facebook. Don't users provide 100% of the value of Facebook? Do they deserve a cut for their labor? And so maybe that's the big question. Are your social media posts labor where you are just generating value for someone else? Ice Bucket Challenge posts make this explicit. And it's for a charity, so you feel good about yourself for participating. But you could, if you wanted to, view every social media post this way. Karl Marx wrote lots about something called alienation. Workers become alienated from their work when the products of their labor don't belong to them, but to their boss, who is the one profiting. Marx talks about how the commodity, the thing being sold, has different kinds of value. Exchange value is how much the commodity is worth in terms of money. Use value is the utility of a thing. Now, it would be weird to determine something's exchange value solely by its use value. If this were the case, we'd end up charging people to breathe air, because it has an incredibly high use value. Instead, exchange value starts out being determined by how much labor it takes to make the commodity. Now, when people say, just give money to the ALS Association, don't make a stupid video, what they're saying is that all of those posts and videos are literally worthless, that you may have labored, but you have generated zero value. That it is more worthwhile for you to quietly dish out some cash than it is for you to make a public show of any kind. I think we can say with confidence that that is not the case. This terrifying and awful disease has been put into the spotlight, and to the degree that ALS Ice Bucket Challenge videos now inspire the same kind of exhaustion that planking or the Harlem Shake once did. As weird as it is to say this, I think that's a good thing. To have heard so much about this rare disease with underfunded research that some of us are starting to become sick of it. I think that knowledge is valuable. To try attaching or estimating or asking after the monetary aspect of that value, though, feels absurd, tacky even. But we have it. We know what it is. It's millions of dollars. It's millions of sorely needed dollars. All of those tweets and Facebook posts and YouTube videos are worth collectively millions of dollars. But also so much more.
You have no idea how every single challenge makes me feel, lifts my spirits, lifts every single ALS patient's spirits. You're really, truly making a difference, and we're so grateful. Love you.
In a rare turn of events, I have no specific question to ask, but am just curious about what you see as the relationship between social media posts and the ideas of value or worth. What is the connection that you can draw between those things, and what do you see your relationship to it being? Let us know in the comments. And if you value Idea Channel, you know exactly what I'm gonna ask you to do, and if you've already done it, thank you. I didn't lose my way. Let's see what you guys had to say about Kill La Kill and wearable technology. First things first, we're taking a little break, so next week's episode will not be a full episode. It's gonna be a shorter, sort of like 2 zany ideas episode while we have the last couple weeks of summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. We're gonna celebrate them by probably looking at the internet inside, to be perfectly honest, but you know, a break is a break. Camera Bertram let us know that the Japanese characters we used in the episode were accurate in meaning, but do not actually sound alike, and told us what it is that we meant to say. So thank you for that, Cameron. Our apologies for getting that wrong. Carlos Rangel adds a really interesting piece of context for this whole thing, which is that there are some schools apparently in Japan that have a waiting list for students because the uniforms are so good, and that the uniform of the school actually has a lot to do with its popularity, which whoa. Yes, a whole other level now. TidMiste brings up Nudist Beach, which is the organization that is kind of like fighting against the use of life fiber clothing in Kill La Kill, and a thing that we didn't talk about at all. And I think what Nudist Beach does is to kind of exemplify this idea that there's a balance between using clothing or technology, however you want to view it, letting it wear you versus you wear it. And I think that it doesn't destroy the premise that we were working towards, but sort of it supports it, right? That you can use these tools and not sacrifice your humanity as long as you don't let it. And I think that that is a thing that they do, right? Even the robots that they are inside of, they're only half inside them. And I think that that is a big tell about their attitude about technology. Timothy Morris brings up Donna Haraway, who wrote a lot about like cyborgs and sort of the nuggets of transhumanism, and makes the really awesome point that it is imperative that Ryuko is both wearing life fibers and in some sense made of life fibers, and that this is the thing that allows her almost uniquely to topple this system, and that is maybe the relationship of between people and their tools that will make it so that there isn't some sort of terrible dystopian future. And I think this is a great comment. Links to this one and all the others in the doobly-doo. Christopher Landry writes a really great comment, but I just want to point out that his comparison between Kill La Kill and a bandsaw is genius. Please read this comment. It's great. To DJ Fops95, you will be happy to learn that 0 of your tax dollars go towards funding Idea Channel. Your tax dollars fund foreign wars, but not a fetishizing cartoons and video games. So you can now sleep easy. And finally, an historic comment. Kerrah has our first featured comment from the subreddit and talks about the symbiotic relationship that exists in Kill La Kill between humans and life fibers. And if you were going to call life fibers technology that humans use, you could also call humans technology that life fibers use. And I think this factors really well into the way that the series ends, that it is all about finding a balance between like your full humanity and your sort of your augmented self, and that symbiosis is a thing that needs to achieve a kind of balance so that the world doesn't go all topsy-turvy. This is great comment, Kerrah, thank you. Merthsoft, also from Reddit, asks the really important question of whether or not you can call living things technology, right? Because life fibers are alive in some sense. And there was actually a section of the script that ended up in the rubbish bin because of time, sort of asking and confronting this question. And I think the answer is like a yes maybe or a yes but. And there's a really great Atlantic article about horseshoe crabs as a biomedical technology that is just mind-blowing. So I'll put a link to that in the doobly-doo. But this is a great episode. This is a great question and maybe a future episode, who knows. This week's episode was brought to you by the hard work of these charitable individuals. We have a Facebook and IRC and a subreddit, which we will continue to be reading comments from. And the tweet of the week comes from Low Chup Party, which points us towards an article about what happens when The Simpsons becomes dad humor. I'm old. And for this week's record swap, which is the second to last, we are going to be replacing Highwayman by Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, and Chris Christopherson with Music Has the Right to Children by Boards of Canada. This was actually the first piece of electronic music that I purchased. I got it on the day it came out. I bought it at the same time as Vladislav Delay's Anima, which is also one of my favorite records of all time. I'm super excited to put this up on the wall. I'm a little sad it's going to be stuck in the corner. I'll be fine. I'll get over it. All right. Adios, Highwayman, and welcome. A big and awesome welcome to Boards of Canada.